News Broom at says I'm Stephen Compton. First, the headlines. First, Judicial Circuit Court of Montserrat County indicts several senior officials of the Bureau of State Enterprises on multiple crimes, including economic sabotage, theft, misapplication of trusted property, and criminal conspiracy. President Joseph Boakai emphasizes the need for deliberate and sustained action to advance Liberia's infrastructure development, says Liberia has suffered from infrastructure development over the years. And also coming up in the news, National Office of the West African Examination Council in Liberia announces an extension of the 2026 school candidates registration deadline to Saturday, January 24. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, the voices of the news makers are unpackaged. We are taking a very short break. To be right back. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Up next is the Bulletin of News with Sam Andrews.
The First Judicial Circuit Court of Montserrat County has formally indicted several senior officials of the Bureau of State Enterprises on multiple criminal charges, including economic sabotage, theft, misapplication of entrusted property, and criminal conspiracy. The Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission accused Arthur Matsekwe, former Director General of the Bureau of State Enterprise, Matthew Cotio, Controller, Nathaniel Michel, and other officials of misusing public funds, engaging in fraudulent financial transactions, and facilitating contracts for personal financial gain. According to the indictment, Matsekwe and Cotio allegedly authorized payments exceeding 71,000 United States dollars and 3.8 million Liberian dollars to staff and contractors without verifiable justification or evidence that the services were rendered. The indictment alleged that additional payments instead intended for vendors were diverted to staff members and other individuals, amounting to over 160,000 United States dollar and 8.4 million Liberian dollars. The prosecutors also cited questionable procurement practices involving Benefit Trading International, noting that the officials pre-selected companies to supply stationery and cleaning materials to the Bureau of State Enterprise prior to the commencement of official bidding process. The United States Department of Inland Security has listed 43 Liberians amongst what it described as the worst of the worst alien criminals arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. In a statement released, the United States Department of Homeland Security accused the shortlisted Liberians of armed robbery, aggravated robbery, illegal possession of firearms, and drug-related crimes, among others. According to the statement, the move is part of a broader immigration crackdown tied to President Donald Trump's renewed mass deportation campaign. The United States Department of Homeland Security maintained that the arrest is a push against what it calls the most dangerous offenders, adding it is a fulfillment of the president's promise to deport criminal offenders. The U.S. agency decision has stirred concern among Liberians who fear the reinforced stigma against an immigrant community that has lived in the United States for decades and contributed to American society in healthcare, education, small business, and public service, among others. The latest development followed President Trump's government's decision to suspend immigration visa processing for Liberians, and 74 other nationals. The Liberian government has announced a reduction in canoe license fees, a policy shift widely viewed as a boost for the country's artisanal fisheries sector and a step toward improving the livelihood of small-scale farmers. Artisanal officials Artisanal fishing plays a central role in Liberia's food security, job creation, and economic stability of coastal and inland fishing communities. Officials say the government's action reflects a growing recognition of the sector's contribution to national development and the need for policies that support small scale operators. According to the government, the decision is aimed at easing the financial constraints on artisanal fishers, whom they claim are facing rising operational costs. President Joseph Boakai has emphasized the need for deliberate and sustained action to advance Liberia's infrastructure development. Speaking at the opening of the National Infrastructure Conference in Nima County, the president said the conference was convened out of deep concern over the persistent deterioration and unsightly condition of Liberia's national infrastructure. He noted that the conference highlights the urgent social and economic necessity for international investment and reform within Liberia's infrastructure sector. President Boakai stressed that infrastructure development should go beyond fiscal structures, underscoring its direct impact on citizens' dignity, national pride, and the future of the country. The Liberia National Office of the West African Examination Council, WAEC, has announced an extension of the 2026 school set candidates registration deadline till Sunday, January 24th. According to WAEC, the extension is intended to give schools that have not completed the registration of their candidates additional time to do so, emphasizing a strict adherence to the new deadline. House Joint Committee on Concessions, Mines and Energy and Judiciary Tuesday conducted a public hearing into the proposed tier amendment of the Mineral Development Agreement between the Liberian government and ArcelorMittal. Appearing before the Joint Committee, Mines and Energy Minister Monike Tingbe described the amendment of the MDA as a huge improvement over the existing agreement and a step toward greater economic returns for Liberia. Minister Tingbe told lawmakers that the amendment introduces clearer mechanisms governing production and shipment values beyond 20 million metric tons, a move, he said, will increase production levels and expand employment opportunities for Liberians. He recalled that during a legislative oversight hearing last year, concerns were raised about the localization of senior management. The Liberian government, through the Ministry of Health and its expanded program on immunization, have recorded a steady progress in its response to the mpox outbreak, with thousands of people vaccinated nationwide under a targeted, risk-based strategy. According to health authorities, a total of 18,890 individuals have been vaccinated across Liberia as part of efforts to curb the spread of the virus and protect population most at risk. The vaccination campaign focuses on persons aged 2 years and above, including health care workers, frontline responders, and individuals identified as contacts of laboratory-confirmed mpox cases. The political leader of the Citizens Movement for Change has unveiled plans to petition the legislature for a bill that will make Black Americans to make Liberia their second home. Representative Musa Bility said Liberia and the United States have a long-standing historical ties dating from the days of the founding of the Liberian state. Speaking in an interview with reporters during the annual Martin Luther King Jr. dinner held in Maryland, the United States during the weekend, Representative Bility disclosed that there are many Black people who would like to invest on the African continent. The University of Liberia has released results of The November 22nd, 2025 entrance and placement examination showing a notable improvement in Kennedy's performance. According to the Center for Testing and Evaluation, 3,277 candidates, representing 40.97%, successfully passed the undergraduate entrance exam. In a statement Monday, the Center for Testing and Evaluation disclosed that female candidates outperformed their male counterparts. Of the total number of successful candidates, 1,747 or 53.31% were females, while 1,530 or 64.69% were males. The result also showed that all four visually impaired candidates who sat the paper-based exam passed successfully. Broom County Legislative Caucus Chair and Sion Senator Prince Moy has acknowledged a significant reduction in the price of petroleum products and rise under the government of President Joseph Yemaboakai. Senator Moore made a statement while speaking at the climax of the 79th District Annual Convention of the United Methodist Church in Batala, Broom County. He highlighted several development gains under the Boakai administration, which he said are positively impacting the lives of local citizens. The senator explained that his remarks were inspired by the sermon delivered by resident bishop of the United Methodist Church Liberia Annual Conference, Samuel Quire. Former Minister of Public Works, Ruth Coker Collins, has raised concerns over what she termed as her exclusion from the ongoing National Infrastructure Conference organized by the government through the Ministry of Public Works. In an open letter addressed to the current Minister of Public Works, Roland Giddings, Minister Collins described her omission as concerning, particularly in light of her professional background as a career engineer and her role as the immediate past minister responsible for overseeing key infrastructure policies and programs. She emphasized that infrastructure development is a continuous national process that should transcend political administrations and party affiliations. According to Ruth Coker Collins, national infrastructure conferences should prioritize collective expertise, institutional memory, and professional continuity rather than being limited by administrative transitions. The former Public Works Minister highlighted the importance of including former ministers and senior professionals in major policy decisions, arguing that their participation enhances policy formulation, promotes knowledge sharing, and ensures that lessons learned from previous administrations are preserved and applied. And in a related development, the former Public Works Minister also described the graduation ceremony of her over 100 women youth from Tabitha Vocational Training Institute as historical. Speaking at the close of the vocational training program in Riverside County over the weekend, Madam Ruth Coker Collins said the ceremony was more than a celebration of academic success. According to her, it represents a meaningful transformation driven by skills development. She emphasized that the government's support for vocational education remains a vital pillar in promoting national development and self-reliance. She further encouraged graduates to uphold excellence where they find themselves and apply their knowledge responsibly for the benefit of their families, communities, and the nation. Former Public Works Minister Ruth Coker Collins also expressed appreciation for the institute administrators, instructors, and supporters for their tireless efforts and dedication to ensuring the success of the program.
Sam Andrews there with the Bulletin of News is a regular feature on King's News Broom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. One of our top development, President Joseph Boakai emphasizes the need for deliberate and sustained action to advance Liberia's infrastructure development, says the country has suffered from infrastructure development over the years. We're taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Let's now take our first development. President Joseph Boakai has emphasized the need for deliberate and sustained action to advance Liberia infrastructure development. Speaking at the opening of the National Infrastructure Conference in Nima County, President Boakai said the conference was convened out of deep concern over the persistent deterioration and unsightly condition of the country's national infrastructure.
On behalf of the people and the government of Liberia, I welcome you to our country and those of you who are coming into the beautiful and great country of Nimba, killing enough the historical hub of the mining industry in Liberia. I am pleased to address this important conference, which has been in the making for nearly 2 years. It was conceived in response to my deep concern over the visible deterioration and sadly state of our national infrastructure, conditions that persist as a legacy of our conflict. Also, the result of a forward-thinking approach to set the stage for how we intend to shape the future of our infrastructure landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me at a time to reference two quotations that are frankly underscore our vision of why it is important to deepen the effort for infrastructure development. The Indian politician Rahul Gandhi once observed, and I quote, "The rising tide does not lift those who have no boat. We have to build the boat for them. We have to give them the basic infrastructure to rise to the tide," unquote. In another related reflection, former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher once remarked, and I quote, "You and I come by road or rail, but economies travel on infrastructure." In my view, both quotations underscore the social and economic reason why we must take deliberate action to develop our infrastructure, not only in Liberia, but across Africa.
President Joseph Boakai there speaking. Students in Buto, the hometown of Speaker Kofa Bakun in Sano County, have taken to the streets in protest over what they describe as shortage of teachers, sparking fear that their hopes of passing the West African Senior School Certificate examination are hanging in the balance. According to reports, the protesting students say critical subjects teachers, especially in mathematics, science, and English, are either available or grossly inadequate. Let's now join our reporter Benjamin Johnson for more details on this development.
Students in Buto, the hometown of Hospital Richard Nabukun in Sano County, have taken into the street over what they describe as shortage of teachers, sparking fears that their hope of passing the 2026 West African Senior School Certificate Examinations is hanging in balance. According to a report, the protesting students is critical subject teachers, especially in mathematics, science, and English, are either unavailable or grossly incompetent. As a result, many classrooms remained unattended while the regional examinations draw closer. The students were seen carrying placards and chanting slogans calling for urgent interventions into the situations. The students warned that without immediate actions from authorities, their academic features could be permanently damaged. Education advocates says the situation underscore deeper long-standing challenges in Liberia education system, including poor teacher development, weak oversight, and persistent neglect of rural schools. As of first time, neither the Ministry of Education nor the Office of Speaker Kund had issued an official response to the students' protest. With what's fast approaching, students in Butler public schools say time is running out as they call on the government to act swiftly to avert what they describe as avoidable academic crisis. From Butler in Sano County, I'm Benjamin Quay Johnson. Ken News, Monrovia.
Benjamin Johnson of our Star with that comprehensive report. The former Popular Works Minister, Ruth Coker Collins, has described the graduation ceremony of over 100 women and youth from the Tapitat Vocational Training Institute as historical. Speaking at the closing ceremony, held in Rivers says over the weekend, Madam Cocord Collins said the ceremony is more than a celebration of academic success. According to her, the program represents a meaningful transformation driven by skills development.
It is with profound gratitude and deep sense of fulfillment that I stand before you today at the closing of this historic program of the Tapita Vocational Training Institute under the Ruth Coker Development Foundation. This ceremony marks not just the end of a training cycle, but the beginning of a new opportunities, responsibility, transformation for our graduates. Today, we celebrate vision, resilience, achievement. When the Tapita Vocational Training Institute was established, our goal was clear: to provide practical, market-relevant skills that empower individuals, strengthen communities, and contribute meaningfully to the nation's development, especially in remote communities. Seeing our successfully complete their training ensures us that this vision is not only alive, but firmly on course. So our graduates, you are a true hero or heroine of this day. Through discipline, commitment, and determination, you have acquired skills that are tools of self-reliance, dignity. Remember, vocational skills are not just secondary skills. They are essential skills, meaning our livelihood as human beings. We cannot do with all these skills that you have acquired today. We cannot live without eating. We cannot live in a community where we cannot have commode to flood. We cannot have water systems. That's what you have learned today is essential to our livelihood. And I want you to remember that you have learned something that is impactful for not only you, but for your entire family, community, and society at large. Go forth with confidence. Go forth with confidence, integrity, and strong work ethic. Strong work ethic. As I said before you, I'm an engineer, and I understand what it takes to do practical. That's why we want to put our all into these things that we are doing so that we can make an impact in our society. What we are doing today got nothing to do with politics. What you learn today, there's no politics attached to it. It is for you, your community, your family, and our society, and represent a large. So I said, go for with confidence, integrity, and strong work ethic.
From Unpopular Works, Minister Third Roof Caucus Collie there speaking. Now we have an hour past the news presentation. There's a reminder. You're listening to the Monday, January 19, 2026 edition of King's News Broom. And top developments we are following this evening. First Judicial Circuit Court of Monserrate County indicts several senior officials of the Bureau of State Enterprises on multiple criminal charges, including economic sabotage, theft, misapplication of trusted property, and criminal conspiracy. President Joseph Boakai emphasizes the need for deliberate and sustained action to advance Liberia infrastructure development. Says Liberia has suffered from infrastructure development over the years. National Office of the West African Examinations Council in Liberia announces an extension of the 2026 school candidates registration deadline to Saturday, January 24th, 2026. And away from home, 13 school-going children have died in South Africa after the minibus made an accident. We're taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments. Welcome back. I stay with more developments. House Joint Committee on Concession, Mines and Energy and Judiciary on Tuesday conducted a public hearing into the proposed amendment of the Mineral Development Agreement between the Liberian government and ArcelorMittal Liberia. Appearing before the Joint Committee, Mines and Energy Minister Matenoke Tengwe described the amendment of MDA as a huge improvement over the existing agreement and a step towards greater economic returns for Liberia. Minister Tengwe told lawmakers that the amendment introduces a clearer mechanism governing production and shipment valued beyond 20 million metric tons a month, he says, would increase production level and expand employment opportunity for Liberians.
This amendment establishes clear and enforceable mechanisms governing shipment volume beyond 20 million tons per annum. These increased production and shipment levels are also expected to result in expanded employment opportunities for Liberians. Honorable Chairman and members of this joint committee, it may be recalled that during one of the legislature's oversight hearing last year, it was observed that the current MDA requires the concessionaires to appoint a Liberian identifying 4 executive management positions: Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and Chief Administrative Officer, at least one of which must be heard by a qualified Liberian from and after the first anniversary of the third amendment's effective date. Honorable Chairman and honorable members of the Joint Committee, the Community Development Funds has been increased by nearly 67% from USD $3 million to $5 million. Investment in education and public infrastructure have also been strengthened through commitment, including the construction of a new vocational training center in Grand Bassa County, the repair and maintenance of the St. John River Bridge, among others. Over the years, it has been difficult, if not impossible, to ensure that the rail corridor from Ikepa to Bikana is available for use by more than one user. Although the existing MDA provides for third-party access, such access has been realized due to limitations in the agreement's language. This amendment remedies that challenge by establishing the Rail System Operating Principle (RSOP) and related provision, a functional multi-user rail framework. This framework will unlock additional revenue opportunities for the government through third-party access and provide for a transition from the current user-operator model to an independent rail operator framework. Honorable Chairman and members of the Honorable Joint Committee, why the Interministerial Concession Committee RCC did not obtain everything is such an outcome that is common in any negotiation. The ministry firmly believes that the negotiating team has done its utmost to ensure that this amendment significantly improves the existing NDA and delivers greater and more sustainable benefit to the Republic of Nigeria.
Sano County Senator Clinton Duncan has attributed the widespread poverty affecting ordinary Liberians to laws enacted by elected officials while in government. The senator asserted that many public officials lack the courage to engage investors honestly regarding the appropriate loyalties they should pay to the Liberian government for the exploitation of the country's natural resources. Speaking over the weekend when he was honored by Radio Margibit in Kakata, Senator Duncan emphasized the need for the government to consider nationalizing concession companies, according to him, are not willing to share the benefits driven from Liberia's natural resources.
As a country, our young people are losing that particular attitude to have vision and to go far ahead. We have a culture in this country that forbids us from looking into the faces of people and telling them the truth. And so as many times we go behind their back to gossip. The issue of vision, leadership will be my goal to continue to let them know the importance as we are leading this country for them. Over the period of time, I realized that it is we, Liberians, that have embraced poverty, and we believe that being poor is a destiny for us as a black person. Being black to us is a curse. We do not admire our skin colors. And so people from outside our country come into this country, capitalize on the way you see yourself, take advantage of it, and they exploit you. As they go back rich, you remain poor in your country. People we elect in our country do not still understand the reason why Liberians are suffering. Either they don't understand it or they refuse to accept it because when they get into power, they find comfort for they and the family. I strongly believe that we are suffering in this country not because our country is poor. This country is not a poor country. Liberia is blessed. We have abundance of gold, diamond, iron ore, laws, and we are just 5 billion people in this country. What we met in the national legislation, from my experience, those laws that have been carved, that our present leader, our past leaders refuse to change. The laws that they have on the books that keep you poor and your life will never change is very simple that I should tell you today. And you should hold them responsible that when they come back for election, those things must be corrected before you elect them. How in the world can you have your mineral resources in your country? And they tell you that for every $1 the white man takes from this country, you are entitled to only 3 cents on that dollar. 3% royalty. Beer Mountain took $1 billion United States dollar worth of gold from Cape Mount last year. How much did they give the Liberian people? Only 30 million. So that law, I do not care who you vote for, as long as you are afraid to look in the eyes of the white man and these people that come to our country to exploit our mineral resources, the only people that benefit from your vote are the leaders and their children.
Bon County Legislative Caucus Chair Senator Prince Way has acknowledged a significant reduction in the prices of petroleum products and rise under the administration of President Joseph Boakai. Senator Moy made the statement while speaking at the climax of the 79th District Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church in Broom County. He further highlighted several developmental gains under the Boycakon administration, which, according to him, are positively impacting the lives of the locals.
All of you know that I serve as the national campaign manager for the rescue team. And as a campaign manager, you are under obligation to inform your people that believe in you to have voted for the candidate that you sold. So I want to say in this public manner, Bishop has said, when you are called to serve, you should serve diligently. You know what the message says? So we can't leave from here with all you knowing some of the things that we continue to do for our country and for the country. And with Bishop's message, it says, suppose the overstay sleep. But the old man still sleeping. But the gasoline price still down. It hasn't gone up under his watch. He's still sleeping, but the rest is very constant, very low. And we notice that nobody has stood in line to buy rice almost 2 years. He's still sleeping, but next month we're going to have 2 sets of yellow machines in Brown County. 2 sets. Wow. One will be deployed in Lower Brown and one will be deployed here. He's still sleeping. This budget going to see the full renovation of City Hospital to the fullest, 800,000. We're seeking for $1.9 million is placed in this budget to pay the other parts of Bangla that don't have quota. That means the Progressive Party going all the way to Kobayaro, all the places. Wow. $1.9 million. Wow. It's very mission, eh? Aha! In place sleeping, but the $400,000 is to restore water in Bangla. Pipeline water will be restored in Bangla. So when we come in these conferences, we have to highlight some of the things. Today you can ride from here to the southeast. I don't have to tell you that.
And now on the way from home, 13 school-going children have died in South Africa after many boats they were traveling in made an accident. 11 students died at the scene while 2 succumbed to their injury. Later on, 2 other students remain in critical condition. The minibus driver crashed into the lorry after attempting to overtake 2 vehicles. Spokesperson Mavilad Masondo said. Masondo added that a cause of the culpable genocide could be open. The minibus driver was reportedly being treated in hospital. Katinon Providence Department of Education said while the details of what happened to the lorry driver were uncertain. Well, this is how we go on today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we close the photo. First, Judicial Circuit Court of Montserrat County indicts several senior officials of the Bureau of State Enterprises on multiple criminal charges, including economic sabotage, theft, misapplication of trusted property, and criminal conspiracy. President Joseph Boakai emphasizes the need for deliberate and sustained action to advance Liberia infrastructure development, says the country has suffered from infrastructure development over the years. National Office of the West African Examination Council in Liberia announces an extension of the 2026 school candidates registration deadline to Sunday, January 24, 2026. And away from home, 13 school-going children have died in South Africa after many balls made an accident. On this note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters, news editors for making today's news presentation a success. Sam Andrews was here with the Bulletin of News. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.